What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Overserved. Big week in tennis, especially for the American side of things. Tommy Paul with a huge win in Dallas. Obviously, a great matchup in that final.
Yeah, I feel like Tommy Paul kind of just like flies under the radar sometimes, and he absolutely did in Dallas. I actually saw Tommy. I had a layover from Vegas in Dallas airport. I saw him in the airport. He had a big cowboy hat on and a huge smile on his face. It's really good to see Tommy Paul with a huge win, and he did it really well against Giron. Two Americans. It's really fun to see that in the finals.
Yeah, and obviously he had a really good tournament. He beat Shelton. Obviously, we just talked about Giron, had a nice deep run, looked really good. Obviously took care of business there, but I think it was a great win for Tommy. Obviously, we move in now to Delray this week, and we see, I believe tomorrow is a semifinal, and he's going to be facing Tiafo, who obviously hasn't had the best year, but once again, especially on American soil, always going to be a tough matchup on a hard court. So another real interesting matchup we'll be kind of looking forward to.
Yeah, Americans seem to do really well at Delray Beach. I think of Francis Tiafoe, Jack Sock, Riley Opelka. It's just a tournament where Americans thrive. By the time this Overserved episode comes out, the tournament will be finished. But I do predict a back-to-back titles for Tommy Paul. I think that he absolutely has a shot at this one. And how much momentum would he have coming off these two big wins in Dallas and Delray?
Yeah, definitely. And I just thought about it too. These guys, a lot of them train and live out in Boca and
Yeah.
Delray Beach. So a lot of it, it's like not only home for them, but it's where they're at for, a majority of the off season in South Florida. So a lot of these places, where this tournament's being played, they practice or play right down the block. So, they definitely feel comfortable. Now, obviously, moving into the women's side of things, a few big weeks, especially a big week again with some more coaching changes, just like last week we had with Holger Rune. Now we have a few coaching changes on the women's side, if you want to get into that.
Man, I mean, we just had Valentine's Day this week, but all these breakups on tour are happening with the players and the coaches. It's unbelievable. We had Holger last week, and now it's Maria Sakkari and Jessica Pegula. They ended actually really long coaching partnerships. Maria, 6 years, Pegula, 5 years. I don't know what's in the air, but all these coaching changes are being made. It'll be interesting to see. I think it was like Tennis Channel that was like the coaching carousel continues. Like they're just coaches are just traded, passed around through the players. It's going to be interesting to see which one the two of those players match up with.
Yeah, like you said, I think the more we see it, if it either works more or doesn't work, you might see more and more players, go that route and look to change coaches. So it'll be interesting to see because we're early on in the season. This is not like it's the off season or the end of the year where you think coaching changes would be made more often, but we're at you would think going into you wouldn't go into the season with a coach if you thought you were going to fire them, a few tournaments in right after the first Grand Slam. So very interesting to see that, these moves are being made now, a very interesting part of the year, which hopefully works out for these players and helps them. Hopefully they find what they need to make a deep run into the season. Like we said, Pegula, Sakkari, those are two, women that are hoping to have a big season that kind of been up, down, up, down. But two players that have been at the top for a while and hoping to stay at the top. So definitely would be interesting to see how this plays out over the next few months.
Totally. Okay, so let's get into ace and double faults of the week. I got a couple for you. I've got two aces. I don't know why I just can't have one. I always have two every week. But I got to give one of my aces of the week to Adrian Manarino, the hardworking, not branded wearing tennis player who has just been thriving the past few months. Okay, so at the Dallas Open, he made it to the semifinals by playing only 52 minutes of tennis. He had a bye, a default, and a withdrawal, and he's in the semifinals. He's getting paid, only played 52 minutes of tennis. If I had tequila here, I'd be pouring a shot for him. I know he's credited tequila to his success, but just a lucky guy and a hardworking guy. I'd love to see it happen for him. My other ace of the week is Jenson Brooksby, and I know we speak a lot about the anti-doping deficiencies in tennis and how kind of messed up it is, and we all know he was banned from the tour for 18 months. ITIA, I guess, reviewed his case and gave him 13 months. So he's now eligible to play, I believe, in March. So it'll be good to see him back on tour. And it's good to see ITIA just kind of like, I guess, be a little bit more understanding and lenient. We know it's so messed up. So it's good to see that in the tour. I'm sure we'll welcome Jensen back with open arms. And then my double fault of the week. This is absolutely insane. One of the tour's most beloved favorite players ever, Gael Monfils. He's one of my favorite too. He's just so likable, so nice, such a good guy. He got into such an interesting altercation, I guess, at the Ultimate Showdown, tennis showdown in Oslo, where I guess there was a situation where he got into this altercation in the locker room with an official, and there was an injury that took place, but it wasn't there was no malice. I guess they keep saying it wasn't on purpose. But since there was an injury that took place, he had to be disqualified from the Ultimate Tennis Showdown, which is an exhibition that prides itself on having no rules, no regulations, no one can get in trouble for yelling at an umpire, yelling at the crowd, slamming rackets. There's no one gets punished for anything. And Gael got disqualified. He had to leave. They did say, Ultimate Tennis Showdown did say, you're welcome back to future Ultimate Tennis Showdown exhibitions. But my goodness, it's just a little bit awkward and embarrassing all around. So I got to say that entire situation is the double fault of the week.
No, when I first saw that, I think Ultimate Tennis Showdown put out an Instagram post, and it almost felt like it was a joke because they weren't telling you exactly what happened. They were saying that, hey, he got disqualified, but at the end, I was waiting for just kidding, everything's fine, and it seems like everything's fine, but he still had to be disqualified. So I'm trying to figure out what was such an accident, but at the same time caused him to be disqualified. It just doesn't add up. I don't think it doesn't seem that bad. It seems like everything's fine on both ends. But I wonder at the same time if he was just messing around and maybe cross that line a little bit. You never know. But real interesting situation. I wonder if we'll find out more about what happened. Probably not. But yeah, an interesting situation. And probably, it could have been worse, it seems like. So it wasn't the best, but wasn't the worst for both parties.
Yeah. No, it's just awkward, I think. Really awkward.
No,
I can't imagine him doing anything on purpose. I just can't see it.
Yeah.
I can't.
And then getting in, so for my ace of the week, obviously, we have some really big names coming back to tennis this week. We both have Yannick Sinner and then Carlos Alcaraz, both playing this week. Sinner is playing in the Netherlands, and Alcaraz is in Argentina, back to playing on clay, which you would think would help his confidence, being such a multi-surface player. Being a Spanish player playing on clay. But just getting these guys back, I believe it's their first tournament each since the Australian Open. Good for tennis. They probably need a little bit of time off. It'll be interesting to see. I think right now both of them are still in it. We're filming this on Friday. Obviously, the championship would be on Sunday for both those tournaments. So it seems like right now they're either in the quarterfinals, semifinals. So both are being extremely productive. Hopefully, they'll get right back into the swing of things as we have Indian Wells gearing up and some other really big tournaments. So getting those guys back on court is really important. And then getting into my double fault of the week, obviously, Francis Tiafoe. I just expected him to have a real big tournament in Dallas. Didn't work out that way. But as we go on, he's in Delray, playing back to that level right now. If he could beat Tommy Paul, that would probably be my ace of the week if he could win Delray. Because when Tiafoe is good and playing at his best, I think it's great for American tennis. How exciting he is. I mean, when we saw him at the U.S. Open go on that run was one of the most exciting things in men's U.S. tennis probably in the past few years. So when Tiafoe is playing well, I think it's great for the game. Right now, his showing last week was unfortunately my double fault of the week, but I think he could redeem himself with a big, next day or two in Delray and end up coming out on the other side of this in the right way.
Yeah, and Tiafoe won Delray, I believe it was 2018 or maybe 2019. So he has experience on winning on those courts. So hopefully just kind of thinking of those memories will really kind of do it for him in Delray.
Definitely. So hopefully, next time we record, Delray will be done. We'll see how Sinner and Alcaraz both did in their first tournaments back, hopefully making it to that championship Sunday. So a big episode coming next week, but that's all for this week of Overserved.
Yeah, thank you guys for watching. See you guys next week.
See you guys.